complaint based on which the FIR has been filed. He said that the attack on him was because he did not speak Kannada, and the person that is right now the accused, whose name is Vikas, had insisted that he speaks in Kannada and converse in Kannada, and that is why the altercation started and it went out of hand, because he continued to say that he was a serving officer, was here on deputation, and then it went out of hand. But there have been such kind of random cases that have happened earlier as well in Bengaluru, and that is when we spoke to the office of the Home Minister, they said that any such cases also of the people are brought to book immediately. But that kept aside, they also talk and warn people and make them aware that such kind of action or behavior is unacceptable, and especially when it comes to talking about speaking Kannada or learning Kannada. But they also put out a kind of a rider as well, saying that people should attempt to try and speak Kannada in Karnataka as well. But having said that, in this particular case, the altercation was clearly, as mentioned, the complaint was over the over language and communicating in Kannada with the person who allegedly got into this altercation.
Right, Rohini, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. With the arrest of this particular accused, we'll have more details of what exactly transpired, whether it was an incident of road rage, a heat of the moment altercation that took place, or was it pre-planned, and was this victim, this IAF wing commander, was he and his wife deliberately targeted? So that my colleague also joins us, getting us more details on this. So that any reaction from the state government over this, because we're seeing this case take a political turn as well?
Yes, so clearly, entire case has taken a lot of political turn as well. Opposition is continuously making attacks over the law and order situation in Karnataka, but we are yet to hear any form of clarification from the government yet. We just know for now that the Vikas, this delivery boy, was arrested near the Hennur area in Bengaluru, the Babusapalya area, and he's just arrested hours after the incident actually took place. The police are also maintaining that the incident took place this morning, and there were several leads that are available. Based on the photos that are actually there, they have accessed all these, and they've managed to successfully arrest this person. All angles of how exactly this took place, whether there was a mob involved, everything is something that still needs to be checked. They have right now, arrested this person because, so after interrogation, we will come to know what exactly was the motive behind this incident, whether this was actually over language or anything else. Because remember, he has told that the Air Force person has told that, language was one of the reasons, and that because he didn't know Kannada, he was attacked brutally with keys. So we have to see all angles that are present in this entire case. Prima facie, it does appear to be a case of road rage, but whether there was anything more to this entire case is something that has to be checked. But yes, the government is definitely under pressure, even though the person has been arrested for now. This is not an isolated incident. This is something that has been occurring a lot in the recent past. So there will be a lot of concerns that netizens or citizens of Bengaluru are raising about the safety that is there.
With us, because there was a video that was put out by this wing commander, by the IAF officer himself, where he narrated the entire incident or what exactly transpired. In that video, you can see blood oozing out of his forehead. That's where he was attacked by this biker and others. There was an altercation. As he says, he also makes an emotional appeal in that video where he says, is this what Karnataka has come down to? Take a listen to what exactly transpired as narrated by the victim here himself.
So my wife Madhumita was driving me at around morning 6:30 to drop me to the bus stop, and near Gopalan Grand Mall, just near C.V. Raman Nagar, suddenly from the right one bike comes and stops in front of our car. So I'll share the dashcam video also, and it will be available in CCTV. He comes in front of our car, parks his bike, and thereafter, wearing a helmet, keys in his hand, comes in front of our car and starts saying, "You DRDO people," and something in Kannada. So my wife was driving, so he saw that and came towards my side, and then started arguing, and suddenly, all of a sudden, he punched me with his key. I didn't realize what had happened.
So that continues to be with us now. So that the victim here is also talking about how they were identified. Their vehicle was identified with a DRDO sticker that was on it, which is something that these attackers also hurled abuses over. Do we have any response from the DRDO from this?
Well, we haven't heard anything from the DRDO so far, but we do hear that the Air Force are certainly carrying out a separate probe into this entire issue about how it exactly took place, alongside the police probe, of course, that is taking place right now. We have to see how the DRDO responds to this. But what we also hear from the police is that both him and his wife, who is a squadron leader, both were not there in uniform, and they were not on work necessarily. and that was when they were attacked. But whatever it is, the fact of the matter is, no one should be attacked in such a brutal manner, leave alone an Air Force personnel, someone who guards a country. So yes, it's an extremely unfortunate incident. What more comes out of the Air Force probe, that is something we have to see. But so far, the police have nabbed one of the accused, and we have to see how many more people are actually involved in this entire attack and what the real motive was.
Right, do keep a track of that, so that at the moment, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Like I said, this is taking a political turn as well. The BJP, JDS combined, slamming the Congress party and the Congress government in Karnataka over these spate of incidences that have increased in the recent past. Let's listen into some of those reactions.
Absolute shocker from Karnataka, from Bengaluru. Congress party has ensured that the law and order situation of Karnataka has completely been destroyed. It is alleged that a IAF officer and his wife, who's also a squadron leader, they were attacked while they were on their way to the airport from the DRDO colony. They were brutally beaten up. The law and order situation in Karnataka is going from bad to worse. It is a scary situation. Congress party is only interested in Satta Bachao, not in Kanun Vyavastha Bachao, and therefore the Kanun Vyavastha has gone completely berserk in Karnataka ever since Congress party has come.
A senior Indian Air Force officer is the one that's under attack here. That video that you see on your screens was put out by the victim himself. Wing Commander Bose claimed that there were these accused people who stopped his car in the morning, in the wee hours of this morning, when he and his wife were traveling together. They stopped their car, they hurled abuses at them in Canada, and then he was attacked with a key. He then makes that video with his bloodied face, also asking if this is what Karnataka has come down to. Bengaluru especially has been a cosmopolitan city for decades together. People from around the country have been living, thriving in Bengaluru, in Karnataka. This especially, this incident has taken, has been of grave importance also because this is an army personnel, an Air Force personnel that has come under attack. IAF sources have also told CNN News 18 that they're looking intricately into what exactly has transpired. An investigation perhaps will be conducted by the IAF as well. This even as we see the accused in this particular case that has now been arrested. Interrogation of this particular accused, investigations further on will reveal what exactly the motive was behind this particular attack. We'll try and keep an eye out on that, but shifting focus to another crime story, another shocking story that came out of Karnataka. Former Karnataka DGP Om Prakash, who was serving from 2015 to 2017, was found murdered at his residence. Police suspect his wife Pallavi as the main doer. She's accused number 1 in the FIR as well, which has been registered against his daughter too. Om Prakash was allegedly stabbed multiple times with wounds on his chest, stomach and hand. The murder weapon has also been recovered. Investigation is underway to determine the motive. Meanwhile, CNN News 18 has accessed messages that Om Prakash's wife reportedly sent on a police officers association group. In these messages, his wife has alleged that she is under surveillance by Om Prakash's men, his agents as she called them, adding that she suspects a threat to her life and her daughter's life.
I'm going to
We have got the PM done. We have handed over the body to the son. We have taken to the HSR ground for the formalities and all. Please come, sir is there. Sir will give you all the details. Come, we are investigating it. We are investigating it.
Former Director General of Police, Shri Jayaprakash, Om Prakash, has been murdered. They say by his own wife, but the investigation is on. Until and unless we get the report, the investigation report, we cannot conclude anything. The investigation is on. They are looking at various aspects. Once the report is with us, then we can say how the murder has been done. We don't know the motive, we don't know anything about this murder, but we will investigate. Wife has been secured, they are questioning her.
Now, the state government, the Home Minister of the state there coming out and saying that investigation is underway, the motive is being looked at. There were several allegations that have been made by the wife in this particular case, who is the prime accused. She was detained for questioning as well. The deceased daughter is also under the scanner for this particular crime. Was there any personal enmity? Was there any personal tension between the family, within the family? That is the reason for this murder. That's being investigated as well. Harish Upadhyay, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details on this. Harish, do we have any sense of what exactly transpired, what the motive was, what were the circumstances that led to Om Prakash being found dead?
Poonam, one thing seems to be very clear, that there was a bitter discord within the family, especially between Om Prakash and his wife. This is something that has become very clear, that was known in the police circles, and that seems to have escalated in the last week or so, with the son now saying that Om Prakash's wife came out and threatened Om Prakash, saying that she'll kill him, and that led to Om Prakash going to his sister's house. And he also says that it was, in fact, Om Prakash's daughter who convinced him, pestered him to return home, after which this crime has taken place. The police have now collected the fingerprint of Om Prakash's wife and daughter both, and they are now trying to reconstruct what has happened on the afternoon, on Sunday afternoon. And they're also trying to establish if this was premeditated, because the fact that they've used chili powder, they've used bedspread to cover his face, they're trying to ascertain if this was premeditated or if there was an argument that took place. And in that entire argument, this is triggered this murder. That's something that they are trying to establish. They're also looking at the mental health issue here, because the son who's given this complaint to the police has claimed that both Om Prakash's daughter and wife, both of them were being treated for mental health issues. So that is another angle the police are also currently focusing on.
Right, Harish, do stay on with us, because we have some more news that's trickling in from Karnataka, and this is over the controversy that several students were asked to remove their sacred thread before entering the exam hall in Karnataka. The Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar has now reacted. Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka going on to say that the government is committed to punishing anyone who has erred in the case that has come to the fore. He adds that the government will never interfere in the matters of religious practice. Harish continues to be with us, getting us more details. Harish, this happened from Shivmoga, if I'm not mistaken, where several students were allegedly asked to remove their sacred thread before entering the exam hall. Several comparisons were made how hijab was allowed for Muslim students, but Hindu students were being attacked in the name of rules. The state government now coming out and reacting to that controversy.
Yes, remember, at least there were 4 different cases. 2 from Shimoga, 1 from Bidar, another from Dharwad, and now finally the state government coming out and saying that this is not something that the state government would ever entertain. In fact, in the first 2 days after this incident, we had seen action both in Bidar and Shimoga, where home guards were suspended. The principal in Bidar also was suspended. Now the state government making its stance very clear that this wasn't prescribed in the rule book or in the circular sent for CET exams, and the state government won't entertain any practice of this nature, and it wouldn't want to interfere in the religious practices of people.
Apart from the suspension, Harish, would there be any other action that's initiated by the state government now that this assurance has come to the fore from the Deputy Chief Minister himself?
Well, perhaps the education department is mulling on how they can sensitize people who are on exam duty on what are the kind of rules that are there in the book and how that has to be implemented, and if there is any lack of clarity or grey areas, that too can be clarified, so that students, especially on exam days, don't have to go through this because the officials are not properly informed.
Right, Harish, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Shifting focus now to the other big political story that we've been tracking here all day on CNN News 18, and that's the controversy that has been created by Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha and Congress MP Rahul Gandhi. He was speaking at an event in the United States. He reignited the EVM controversy, specifically in the case of Maharashtra elections. He alleged that the Election Commission is compromised. Rahul Gandhi claimed that more people voted in Maharashtra than the total number of adult voters. He cited 65 lakh votes that were cast in just 2 hours on polling day in Maharashtra. He said this was physically impossible. Rahul Gandhi reiterated that the system is broken and biased in favor of the NDA. This, despite the Election Commission in the past coming out and rejecting the claims that were made by Rahul Gandhi, the Congress and the Mahavikas Aghadi as a whole in Maharashtra. The BJP has hit right back at Rahul Gandhi and the Congress as a whole. They say that some people have become anti-India, and instead of being anti-Modi, they're now berating India on a global stage.
More people voted in the Maharashtra assembly elections than there are adults in Maharashtra. This is the fact. And the election commission gave us a figure, voting figure for 5:30 in the evening. And between 5:30 in the evening and 7:30 in the evening, when the polls were supposed to have closed, 65 lakh voters voted. Now, that is physically impossible to happen, right? Because for a voter to vote, it takes approximately 3 minutes. And if you do the math, it would mean that there were lines of voters till 2 o'clock at night voting all night, and this didn't happen. So we asked them, but look, evening, you have videography taking place. If we ask, they not only refused to give us the videography, they changed the law so that now you're not allowed to ask for the videography. It's very clear to us that the election commission is compromised. It's very clear that there is something very wrong with the system.
विदेश की भूमि में जाकर भारत पर इस प्रकार हमले करने वाला राहुल गांधी याद रखे कि वो 50,000 की बेल पर बाहर है, वो गुनहगार है, वो भ्रष्ट है, उसने चोरी की है, डकैती की है। राहुल गांधी, आपसे नहीं हो पाएगा हिंदुस्तान में राजनीति, तो जाकर के किसी और देश से चुनाव लड़िए, मगर जिस थाली में खाते हैं, अगर उस थाली में आप छेद करेंगे तो आप देशद्रोही कहलाएंगे। ईडी आपको छोड़ेगी नहीं, क्योंकि तथ्य के आधार पर एजेंसीज काम करते हैं और तथ्य ओपन एंड शट केस का है कि इज नो लीडर विद अपोजिशन। जिसके पास काबिलियत नहीं है वो अनफिट है, पॉलिटिकली अनफिट है। पॉलिटिकली अनफिट मैन ऑलवेज टेक्स द क्रचेस ऑफ एलिगेशंस व्हिच आर फॉल्स टू प्रूव दैट ही इज अ लीडर। और आज अमेरिका में हो या दूसरे देशों में जो राहुल गांधी कर रहे हैं, वो उनकी नाकामी का ही एक खिसियापन है।
चुनाव प्रणाली में गड़बड़ है। महाराष्ट्र का संदर्भ और उदाहरण देते हुए उन्होंने कहा, बीजेपी ने कहा है कि देश की बदनामी वो विदेश में करते हैं।
आप काम क्यों ऐसे कर रहे हो जिससे बाहर, राहुल जी ने जो बोला है, राहुल जी छात्रों के बीच में गए हैं, वहां भी भारतीय लोग रहते हैं, तो जिस चीज के ऊपर लगातार सवाल उठ रहे हैं उस चीज के ऊपर बात होनी चाहिए ना। अगर इतना सब चीज साफ है तो आप हटा दीजिए, क्यों नहीं हटा देते उसको।
बीजेपी लगातार ये पूछ रही है कि देश के मुद्दे बाहर क्यों राहुल गांधी रखते हैं, देश से बाहर, इससे देश की बदनामी बाहर होती है।
इसमें बदनामी की क्या बात है? इसमें बदनामी की क्या बात है? वहाँ सारे भारतीय नहीं है क्या? वो सब लोग भारतीय नहीं है क्या वहाँ जो रह रहे हैं? भारतीयों के बीच में बात कर रहे हैं, भारतीयों के से बात कर रहे हैं अपने।
ये बहुत ही दुख की बात है कि श्रीमान राहुल गांधी विदेश में जाकर अपने देश के प्रति, अपने देश के संविधान ने जो संस्थाएं तैयार की है उनके प्रति इस प्रकार से झूठ बोलने का प्रयास करते हैं, झूठ फैलाने का प्रयास करते हैं, भारतीय लोकतंत्र को बदनाम करने का प्रयास करते हैं। ये बहुत ही निंदनीय इस प्रकार से उनका काम चल रहा है। बार बार चुनाव हारने के बाद उनके ऊपर जो परिणाम हुआ है उसके चलते मुझे लगता है कि इस प्रकार की हरकतें वो कर रहे हैं। कोई भी देशभक्त इस प्रकार से अपने देश को विदेश में जाके बदनाम नहीं करता। राहुल गांधी जिस प्रकार का बर्ताव कर रहे हैं, उनके चरित्र पर एक सवालिया निशान इसके कारण खड़ा हुआ है। दुनिया भर में कितनी भी बदनामी करके वो चुनाव नहीं जीत सकते, इससे उनका ही कद छोटा होता जाएगा।
राहुल गांधी जी की जो शिकायत, वो शिकायत ये कि महाराष्ट्र के चुनाव में लाखों की तादाद में जाल वोट के चलते फर्जी वोट, फर्जी वोटर और फर्जी वोट, इसको सत्तारूढ़ पार्टी ने चुनाव के समय जीत हासिल करने के लिए उपयोग किए थे। इसलिए राहुल गांधी की जो शिकायत है वो शिकायत वाजिब है और शिकायत की जवाब सत्तारूढ़ पार्टी को देना चाहिए।
राहुल गांधी विदेश में जाते हैं और चुनाव आयोग पर प्रहार करते हैं और कहते हैं कि साठगांठ है, मिलीभगत है।
देखो, ये प्रवासी प्रोफेसर की जो पाठशाला है और उस पाठशाला का जो पाठ्यक्रम है वो संवैधानिक संस्थाओं पर प्रहार और वार का हमेशा रहा है। और इस प्रवासी प्रोफेसर की पाठशाला में जब भी पप्पू जी जाते हैं तो इस तरह के बयान और इस तरह की बकवास बहादुरी उनकी बहुत साफ दिखाई पड़ती है। और ये लोग वो लोग हैं जो संवैधानिक संस्थाओं पर वार और प्रहार के हिस्ट्री शीटर लोग हैं। और कभी कभी जो है वो इस तरह के संवैधानिक संस्थाओं पर वार और प्रहार को लेकर के यहाँ पर जो है हाहाकार करते हुए दिखाई पड़ते हैं। कोई ऐसी संवैधानिक संस्था ऐसी नहीं बची है जिस पर इन्होंने जो है वो प्रहार न किया हो, जिसकी उन्होंने गरिमा को धूल धूसित करने की धूर्ततापूर्ण धुन न की हो।
Pallavi Ghosh, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more perspective. Pallavi, does Rahul Gandhi actually have proof to substantiate the claims that he's making? Because this is not the first time that he's made the allegation in context of voters in Maharashtra. The Election Commission has responded to the Congress party and to the opposition as a whole about these claims that were made in the past as well.
Yes, in fact, the government has also come out with evidence to show that even in those areas where the voters list were reworked and worked upon to get rid of many of them who were fuzzy, it's not that the BJP won over there, but it was actually the MVA or other opposition independent candidates who really won in those areas. And according to government sources and the Election Commission, this busts the lie which has been peddled by the opposition parties, particularly by Rahul Gandhi, that first of all, the electoral process is not transparent, and second, that in Maharashtra, the win of the Yuti Alliance is actually not really a win, because this was something which was a result of those fake voters lists. Now, this has of course snowballed into a huge controversy. The EC has received several memorandums from Congress, from TMC, and all along the Election Commission has given out evidence and statistics to show that how the EVM machines cannot be hacked. And second, why is there no question asked when you win elections, say in Jharkhand or in Telangana? And third is that they have invited these parties to come to the Election Commission and kind of speak across the table, but that has not really happened. So there is now a problem area here for the Congress party on two grounds. One, every time he travels abroad, he tries to negate the image of our country. Of course, a rejoinder has now come in from the Congress in terms of Supriya Shrinate, who's now put out a video to show that even when the Prime Minister goes abroad, he attacks the Congress. The second problem area, according to BJP, is that in roughly an hour or so, the American Vice President will have a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister. Does it look good when there is a dignitary visiting on a state visit where the leader of the opposition, who holds a constitutional position, is casting aspersions and also sullying the image of the country?
Right, so the back and forth between the BJP and the Congress will continue over this. For the moment, Pallavi, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. In fact, Union Minister for Education, Dharmendra Pradhan, is the latest one to now come out and slam Rahul Gandhi for his comments. He says that it's very unfortunate that whenever Rahul Gandhi is abroad, he does not miss sharing his hateful thoughts towards India and India's democratic systems. This is in context of Rahul Gandhi's remarks against the Election Commission, but also on the education system in the country, where Rahul Gandhi, during his interaction at the Brown University in Boston, had claimed that our education system was veering towards one ideology. Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan now coming out and slamming Rahul Gandhi for his comments that were made at Brown University when he was in Boston. It is a twofold attack by the BJP, by the Education Minister specifically against Rahul Gandhi. One, of course, is on the allegations and the claims that Rahul Gandhi has made against the Election Commission, and the other on the education system of the country. Arun, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details. Arun, the BJP is keeping the heat on the Congress party, on Rahul Gandhi specifically?
Well, that's right. Now, the Union Minister Dharmendra Pradhan is coming out and putting out that post and targeting Rahul Gandhi. The points which he is highlighting in his post is that whenever Rahul Gandhi goes out at a foreign land, he insults the country, he insults the democratic process of the country, and secondly, he's saying that this is a mere frustration of Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party because they're not able to win elections here in the country, and therefore they are resorting to these things where they are undermining the democracy and the culture of this country. So this is in a continuation of the attacks which BJP is going all out at this point. In the morning, we saw BJP national spokesperson Sambit Patra holding that press conference, hitting out at Rahul Gandhi, and now we are seeing the union minister is also putting out that post. And we have seen even in the past that how vehemently BJP has taken on Rahul Gandhi whenever he has been on foreign tours. In fact, in last couple of hours we saw that various posts had come out from the Congress leader's side where they are talking about the times of Indira Gandhi or Rajiv Gandhi, that how they misused the election process, and biggest of all when the emergency was brought in 1975. What more evidence what they are saying can be brought to the fore to the understandings of the Congress party, that how they have tarnished the election commission or various other governmental agencies in the past, and there nobody to question us at this point when country is growing, everybody globally respecting Prime Minister Modi and India, and this is just their frustration. That's what BJP is saying at this point.
Right, Arun, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. We'll keep a track of that political controversy and much more here on CNN News 18. But for now, it's time for a quick break.
Mahi sir.
From the beginning, Pope Francis had the common touch.
Buonasera.
A simple good evening from the newly elected Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio from Argentina, the first pope ever from the Americas. Equally at home with the poor and the powerful, on the lawn of the White House, he made a plea for immigrants.
As the son of an immigrant family, I'm happy to be a guest in this country, which was largely built by such families.
The Pope focused much of his attention to those on the peripheries, as he called it, the outsiders excluded from society.
The hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, the naked, the sick, those in prison.
He was not so popular at times inside the Vatican. Backlash from conservatives upset about his liberal approach to church teaching, promised reforms of financial transparency never fully materializing, and the scandal of sex abuse continuing to be the Catholic Church's biggest struggle.
He met with victims. He expressed heartfelt sorrow. He expressed resolve to get this right. But, most critics, many victims, would say that wasn't matched with a policy follow-through.
When the coronavirus pandemic hit in 2020, this image of the Pope blessing the world from an empty St. Peter's Square became a symbol for that desolate time. Francis urged nations to share their vaccines with poorer countries and vaccinated hundreds of homeless and underprivileged at the Vatican. From the beginning of the war in Ukraine in 2022, Francis was an outspoken advocate for peace. Francis avoided outright condemnation of Vladimir Putin, but publicly appealed to the Russian president, begging him to stop for the love of his people, the Pope said. He made similar appeals for peace during the conflict in the Middle East, saying that the Israel-Hamas war had descended into terrorism. He insisted that war is always a defeat and said self-defense that is not proportional is immoral. Francis's most important message was one of fraternity, that we are all brothers and sisters despite our differences. I'm Karen Kefa reporting. From the beginning, Pope Francis had the common touch.
Buonasera.
A simple good evening from the newly elected Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio from Argentina, the first pope ever from the Americas. Equally at home with the poor and the powerful, on the lawn of the White House, he made a plea for immigrants.
As the son of an immigrant family, I'm happy to be a guest in this country, which was largely built by such families.
The Pope focused much of his attention to those on the peripheries, as he called it, the outsiders excluded from society.
chi ha fame,
The
sete.
hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, the naked, the sick, those in prison.
He was not so popular at times inside the Vatican. Backlash from conservatives upset about his liberal approach to church teaching, promised reforms of financial transparency never fully materializing, and the scandal of sex abuse continuing to be the Catholic Church's biggest struggle.
He met with victims. He expressed heartfelt sorrow. He expressed resolve to get this right. But, you know, most critics, many victims, would say that that wasn't matched with a policy follow-through.
When the coronavirus pandemic hit in 2020, this image of the Pope blessing the world from an empty St. Peter's Square became a symbol for that desolate time. Francis urged nations to share their vaccines with poorer countries and vaccinated hundreds of homeless and underprivileged at the Vatican. From the beginning of the war in Ukraine in 2022, Francis was an outspoken advocate for peace. Francis avoided outright condemnation of Vladimir Putin, but publicly appealed to the Russian president, begging him to stop for the love of his people, the Pope said. He made similar appeals for peace during the conflict in the Middle East, saying that the Israel-Hamas war had descended into terrorism. He insisted that war is always a defeat and said self-defense that is not proportional is immoral. Francis's most important message was one of fraternity, that we are all brothers and sisters despite our differences. I'm Karen Kefa reporting. From the beginning.
Thank you for staying with us here on Nation at 5. The story we're tracking at the moment is the significant visit of the US Vice President JD Vance and his entire family to India. It's a 4-day visit that the Vances are on here in India. It's the first trip to India since President Trump's return to the White House for JD Vance and his family. After his touchdown at the Palam Air Force Station, he received a Tri-Service Guard of Honor, a ceremonial welcome. The Vance family visited Delhi Swaminarayan Akshardham temple earlier in the morning. They explored traditional Indian handcrafted goods. Following their entire schedule, they are going to be having dinner with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The family will be heading to Jaipur late tonight to visit historical sites, including the iconic Amer Fort tomorrow. The highlight of this visit is going to be, of course, a key meeting with Prime Minister Modi, which takes place over dinner today. The focus is going to be on strengthening bilateral ties, addressing critical issues. The big focus, of course, is going to be the ongoing trade and tariff war between the United States and the rest of the world. Government sources here in India have told CNN News 18 that the tariff issue will be addressed at this much-awaited meeting between Prime Minister Modi and JD Vance. Furthermore, farm sector concerns are likely to be discussed as well because agricultural exports from India could be facing high tariffs from the United States after that 90-day pause that is in effect as we speak. Government sources have also informed that India's approach will be accommodative and will avoid a confrontationist approach with the United States. Siddhant now joins us, getting us more details, getting us more perspective on this. Siddhant, that post 6:30 p.m. is when we are going to be seeing all the activity take place there. JD Vance is going to be arriving at 7 LKM. He's going to be in a closed-door meeting with the Prime Minister, followed by that informal lunch. Do take our viewers through what's exactly going to be on the table.
Yes, that's right. In some time from now, VP Vance will reach Prime Minister's residence, that is 7 LKM. And both leaders will sit for talks, and in fact, which will be followed by dinner, which Prime Minister Modi is hosting tonight in JD Vance's honor. And in fact, right after the dinner, he will head straight to the airport, and from there he will depart for Jaipur. So tomorrow, JD Vance is going to be in Jaipur. Now, today's meeting is going to be very, very significant because this is the second time both leaders are meeting. In fact, this is also for the first time they are meeting, and there is amidst the tariff issue, which is still ongoing, and both India and US are engaging to lock bilateral trade agreement. Perhaps other than this, there was a joint statement which was released in February. Both sides are going to review the progress made on the joint statement. Other global and regional issues will also be discussed. And as we have been reporting since morning, that this visit is a recce visit of JD Vance to lay the groundwork, to do the groundwork for President Trump's visit later this year for the Quad Summit. So even today, in today's meeting, and also he's going to address business community tomorrow in Jaipur. Perhaps that particular speech will give a better understanding of how Trump 2.0 looks at India-US relationship, and what do they expect in this relationship, and what is their idea about this bilateral relationship. So tomorrow also we'll get a clarity, and in fact we could expect a statement coming from the government of India after the meeting. Very unlikely that there's going to be any joint statement coming, but yes, there would be a statement after the meeting.
Right, Siddhant, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. We'll of course keep our eye out on that statement that comes after that all-important meeting, but let's listen into some reactions that have poured in.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने भारत की विदेश नीति के माध्यम से दुनिया भर के देशों से जो बेहतर संबंध बनाए, आज दुनिया की सबसे तेजी से बढ़ने वाली बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्थाओं में भारत है। दुनिया का ब्राइट स्पॉट अर्थव्यवस्था की दृष्टि से भारत है, तो दुनिया भर के देशों को भी आज भारत में इंटरेस्ट है और भारत अमेरिका के रिश्ते पहले से बहुत मजबूत हुए हैं और निश्चित तौर पर इस मुलाकात से और मजबूत होने जा रहे हैं। और प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने सदा भारत के पक्ष को बड़ी गंभीरता के साथ आगे रखा है और भारत को और मजबूत किया है।
राधिका जी, क्या कुछ किया है उपराष्ट्रपति और उनके परिवार ने अंदर पूजा अर्चना की, और कुछ क्या किया, कहाँ कहाँ घूमा, ये बताएं।
जी, सबसे पहले वो जब आए तब उनका भगवान स्वामीनारायण के जहाँ पे चरणारविंद रखे हैं वहाँ पे भव्य स्वागत हुआ। हमारे पूजनीय संत और वरिष्ठ हरिभक्तों ने हिंदू परंपरागत तरीके से उनका स्वागत किया। फिर वहाँ पे भगवान स्वामीनारायण के चरणारविंद के पास उनकी थोड़ी सी पूजा करके वे आगे बढ़े। आगे जाके वहाँ पे जहाँ गजेंद्र परिक्रमा है उसकी नक्काशी देख के पूरा परिवार बहुत ही अभिभूत हुआ। बच्चों को वो हाथी की जो नक्काशी वो बहुत पसंद आई। हाँ, फिर आगे बढ़े, वो अंदर गए मंदिर के अंदर और गर्भगृह में जाके भगवान स्वामीनारायण की मूर्ति के पास जाके उन्होंने विश्व शांति के लिए प्रार्थना की।
विश्व शांति के लिए और कुछ क्या जानना चाहो वो या उनकी पत्नी ने?
अंदर गर्भगृह में जाके वैसे तो उन्होंने दर्शन किए, बाद में पूरी परिक्रमा देखी, सारे डोम्स देखे, नक्काशी देखी और ये जो नागर शैली से बना पूरा मंदिर है जिसमें स्टील का यूज नहीं किया, और ये जब माहिती उनको जब प्राप्त हुई तब वो बहुत ही अभिभूत हो गए इस जानकारी को प्राप्त करके। और कहीं ना कहीं देखते हैं ना कि वो उनकी विजिट के दौरान इतना डिटेल में एक एक चीज देख रहे थे कि मानो कि वो उसके अंदर डूब गए हैं। तो ऐसा जरा भी नहीं लगा कि वो ऐसे फटाफट आए ही हैं, अभी जस्ट एयरपोर्ट से
50 से 55 मिनट तक वक्त अंदर बिताया,
1 घंटे तक का जितने का समय यहाँ पे व्यतीत किया, मगर इतना शांति से उन्होंने यहाँ पे समय दिया और आराम से कहते हैं ना कि अपने जो प्रारंभिक यात्रा थी उसको पूर्ण संतोष के साथ वो एंजॉय करते करते उन्होंने आज अक्षर।
We are very thrilled and very happy that along with the families they visit here and they buy some paper mache item, the small gift item for the kids and some brass items and small many items. They visit all the counters in the showroom, and Central Cotton Industry is one of the temple of art and craft. You know, it's not an ordinary shop. So Central Cotton Industry is one of the very big organizations, biggest in the Asia, and deals with the handloom and handicrafts.
They were liking everything, but they were naturally short of time. So they spent already 40 minutes almost. They took tea, honey, paper mache items, wooden item, pottery. They have taken all these things.
Yeah, they really enjoyed and they appreciated our showroom. They purchased pottery items, certain paper mache items, tea bags.
Moving on now, with Canada's federal elections around the corner, spotlight is back on the tensions simmering between India and Canada, and those ties were strained because there was a seemingly free run that was given to pro-Khalistani sympathizers in Canada. Unfortunately, those instances have returned. A Gurudwara in Vancouver and a Lakshmi Narayan temple in Surrey were both defaced in the last 12 hours with the pro-Khalistani graffiti, marking another alarming incident targeting religious institutions targeting India in Canada. Canadian MP Chandra Arya condemned the attack. He said that extremists are well funded and backed by significant political clout. He further urged Hindu and Sikh communities in Canada to rise with urgency and demand decisive action against these Khalistani extremists. What's even more significant is that elections for the next Prime Minister, for the next government in Canada are going to be held in a week's time. But neither of the two contenders or the two political parties in the country have said a word about this vandalism.
I saw when I got there that the vandalism had already been covered up. There was still some broken glass. There are videos that did come out in the morning, but saying Khalistan was on it. And you saw a lot of Khalistan graffiti. I spoke with some of the devotees and some of the management who I don't quite understand why they decided to just remove the graffiti before the police came. They also stole a security camera that came out. But a lot of the devotees were rather upset. It wasn't the only temple vandalized last night. There was also a Gurdwara in Vancouver that was vandalized by Khalistanis.
Siddhant, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more perspective. Siddhant, we've seen the kind of response that have come in from certain quarters in Canada, but from none of the contenders who could be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Any response from the Ministry of External Affairs here in India?
Well, there has not been any response from the ministry that we are aware of, but Poonam, this is a big problem. This problem cannot be handled by one leader or one government, because these Khalistani elements have infiltrated into the systems in Canada, whether it's the political system, government system, police, name the system and you will find their presence. No matter who is in power or who comes to power in Canada, perhaps it is and it will always be a challenge for the government to reinstate ties with India, to make sure that a relationship goes back to normal. So, Poonam, what happened in last couple of weeks? We have been hearing a lot of positive signaling from both the sides, both Canada and India, that they are willing to do things. In fact, Mark Carney said that he wants to do trade with India. EMS Jaishankar, in fact, while speaking to Zaka Jacob at Rising Bharat, said that I don't know one reason that why we should not have good relations with Canada. Perhaps this could be one of the reasons that, these Khalistani elements don't want two countries to come closer, don't want two countries to reinstate ties, to bring relationship back to normal. This could be one of the reasons, as Canada is in elections. And this time around, because the structure is such in Canada that no police force goes after them, there is no investigation that takes place after this vandalism. And Poonam, this temple which we are talking about have been vandalized more than 3 or 4 times, to the best of my knowledge. It has been vandalized before also, this Lakshmi Narayan temple. In fact, I've spoken to the management of this temple also many times. So, this could, one of the reasons could be because they're not liking that both countries are giving positive signals to bring relationship back to normal.
Right, Siddhant, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. We'll keep an eye out of what transpires there. For the moment, though, a quick pause here on this edition of Nation at 5. Be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Mahi sir.
From the beginning, Pope Francis had the common touch.
Buonasera.
A simple good evening from the newly elected Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio from Argentina, the first pope ever from the Americas. Equally at home with the poor and the powerful. On the lawn of the White House, he made a plea for immigrants.
As the son of an immigrant family, I'm happy to be a guest in this country, which was largely built by such families.
The Pope focused much of his attention to those on the peripheries, as he called it, the outsiders excluded from society.
The hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, the naked, the sick, those in prison.
He was not so popular at times inside the Vatican. Backlash from conservatives upset about his liberal approach to church teaching, promised reforms of financial transparency never fully materializing, and the scandal of sex abuse continuing to be the Catholic Church's biggest struggle.
He met with victims. He expressed heartfelt sorrow. He expressed resolve to get this right. But, most critics, many victims, would say that that wasn't matched with a policy follow-through.
When the coronavirus pandemic hit in 2020, this image of the Pope blessing the world from an empty St. Peter's Square became a symbol for that desolate time. Francis urged nations to share their vaccines with poorer countries and vaccinated hundreds of homeless and underprivileged at the Vatican. From the beginning of the war in Ukraine in 2022, Francis was an outspoken advocate for peace. Francis avoided outright condemnation of Vladimir Putin, but publicly appealed to the Russian president, begging him to stop for the love of his people, the Pope said. He made similar appeals for peace during the conflict in the Middle East, saying that the Israel-Hamas war had descended into terrorism. He insisted that war is always a defeat and said self-defense that is not proportional is immoral. Francis's most important message was one of fraternity, that we are all brothers and sisters despite our differences. I'm Karen Kefa reporting. From the beginning, Pope Francis had the common touch.
Buonasera.
A simple good evening from the newly elected Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio from Argentina, the first pope ever from the Americas. Equally at home with the poor and the powerful, on the lawn of the White House, he made a plea for immigrants.
As the son of an immigrant family, I'm happy to be a guest in this country, which was largely built by such families.
The Pope focused much of his attention to those on the peripheries, as he called it, the outsiders excluded from society.
Chi ha fame,
The hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, the naked, the sick, those in prison.
He was not so popular at times inside the Vatican. Backlash from conservatives upset about his liberal approach to church teaching, promised reforms of financial transparency never fully materializing, and the scandal of sex abuse continuing to be the Catholic Church's biggest struggle.
He met with victims. He expressed heartfelt sorrow. He expressed resolve to get this right. But, most critics, many victims, would say that that wasn't matched with a policy follow-through.
When the coronavirus pandemic hit in 2020, this image of the Pope blessing the world from an empty St. Peter's Square became a symbol for that desolate time. Francis urged nations to share their vaccines with poorer countries and vaccinated hundreds of homeless and underprivileged at the Vatican. From the beginning of the war in Ukraine in 2022, Francis was an outspoken advocate for peace. Francis avoided outright condemnation of Vladimir Putin, but publicly appealed to the Russian president, begging him to stop for the love of his people, the Pope said. He made similar appeals for peace during the conflict in the Middle East, saying that the Israel-Hamas war had descended into terrorism.
Welcome back. Days after violence broke out, after a protest against the Waqf Act turned violent, Murshidabad is still picking up the pieces. The worst hit area in the recent communal violence in West Bengal is where CNN News 18 travelled. We saw the devastation that unfolded, the homes that were burned down and the families that were forced to flee. My colleague Anandya Banerjee spoke with some of them and got us this exclusive ground report. Take a look.
The house of Shiranjan Ghosh and at least what used to be a house of Shiranjan Ghosh. Everything is demolished, burnt, scattered. The remains are there. There's a bicycle. At least the skeleton of the bicycle is remaining. The tiles are strewn all over. It's burnt. The ladder is burnt. The entry door frame is also burnt. I'll go inside and give you a better view of what happened on that fateful day. As Begbona had to face the worst communal violence of their life. And there used to be a bed of Shiranjan Ghosh. There's no semblance of bed anymore. It's burned to ashes. There's a drum. There's a storage. There's nothing left there. There's a fan facade. There's nothing left of it. Absolutely burnt. Here are some cups that are still there. Normal household stuff. Photos of gods and goddesses. A photo of Ram Mandir still there. A shankh is still there, lying. Most of them are burnt or half burnt. Any normal, low-earning Bengali family, stuff they would keep in their houses, they're all burnt. This is the precious storage place where they would keep their money, where they would keep their evidences, important documents. They're all burnt, all burnt. These are all currency notes, all packed and all burnt. Nothing left to, come out of this situation. These are coins absolutely there. And you can see some papers that are burnt as they were folded, kept folded and burnt folded. Now they don't have key documents to survive in this moment.
उस दिन हक बिल के लिए सब मुहम्मदन लोग आया, हो करके 1000 आदमी आया, आके सब घर बाड़ी तोड़ जला दिया, आग का हवाले कर दिया सबका, सब मार के भगा दिया सबको आदमी को। हमारा साथ भी हुआ, जो गांव वाला है उधर अगल बगल का उसका भी साथ हुआ। हम तो बोल रहे हैं कि सरकार उन लोग को सजा दीजिए। हम उन लोग टैंक था घर का बगल में, तो उसको जहर डाल दिया कि खाएगा तो ये हिंदू लोग मर जाएगा। मंदिर पे तोड़फोड़ बहुत किया, शिवलिंग को लाठी मारा, लाठी मार के कुचल दिया, कुचल देकर सब तोड़फोड़ दिया, इधर उधर सब हिंदू को मारा। मतलब ये करो, ये अल्लाह अकबर बोलो, हिंदू का धर्म नहीं है, ऐसा बोला।
Shifting focus from West Bengal to Jammu and Kashmir now, where heavy rainfall and cloudbursts triggered flash floods and landslides across Jammu and Kashmir's Ramban district. At least 3 people, unfortunately, were left dead. Several people were rescued. Several have to be evacuated as well. The devastation has blocked the strategic Jammu-Srinagar National Highway at multiple locations. Hundreds of commuters, hundreds of tourists have been stranded on that all-weather road that connects Kashmir to the rest of the country. Authorities have ordered the closure of all schools, colleges and technical institutions across the valley due to the severe weather. Meanwhile, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah visited the area, took stock of the situation. The restoration work on the National Highway has been unfortunately delayed by incessant rains, with vehicular movement being suspended.
जम्मू श्रीनगर राष्ट्रीय राजमार्ग पर न्यूज 18 इंडिया की टीम पहुंची है वहां पर जहां पर हुई है रोड्स की बड़ी तबाही। भूस्खलन की वजह से यहां पे सब कुछ तहस नहस हो गया। लैंडस्लाइडिंग लगातार यहां इस एरिया में हुई और अभी श्रीनगर जम्मू राष्ट्रीय राजमार्ग लगातार बंद है। मुसलसल बारिशों की वजह से कई जगहों पे फ्लैश फ्लड्स आ गए, जिसकी वजह से चट्टानें खिसक गई और अब रोड जगह जगह पे बंद हुए। मैं दिखाने की कोशिश करूंगा कि इस एरिया में क्या हुआ है हाल। तो ये आप देख सकते हैं कि आज जम्मू श्रीनगर राष्ट्रीय राजमार्ग के हालात क्या हैं। यहाँ पे पूरी चट्टानें खिसक गई हैं, पूरे पहाड़ जो हैं वो गिर आए हैं। लगातार बारिशों के बाद ये हाल हुआ है। फ्लैश फ्लड्स आ गए हैं, क्लाउड बर्स्ट हो गए हैं और इस इलाके में पूरी तरह से तबाही हुई है। 3 लोगों की इस इलाके में मौत हुई है, कई लोग बेघर हुए हैं, कई लोगों को रेस्क्यू किया गया है और अब रोड को रेस्टोर करना एक बड़ा चैलेंज बना हुआ है, क्योंकि मलबे के पहाड़ हैं रोड पर। ये रोड है और आप देख सकते हैं रोड का हाल क्या हुआ है और मैं दिखाने की कोशिश करूंगा। ये आप देख सकते हैं कि बिजली का निजाम किस तरीके से यहाँ पे तबाह हुआ है। अब लोग पैदल चल रहे हैं यहाँ पे एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाने के लिए। ये देखिए, ये बिजली का बड़ा एक रिसीविंग स्टेशन है, लेकिन जब ये पूरा पहाड़ रोड पे आ गया और उसके बाद सीधे टकराया इस बिजली के रिसीविंग स्टेशन के साथ और यहाँ पे बिजली का निजाम पूरी तरह से तबाह हो गया है और इस एरिया में बिजली का निजाम रेस्टोर करने में भी काफी टाइम लगेगा। लेकिन मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा क्या है इस वक्त हाल। बताया जा रहा है कि अगर ये पेड़ नहीं होता तो ये पूरा एरिया ढह जाता, ये पूरा रिसीविंग स्टेशन ढह जाता। ये शख्स जो हैं इन्होंने अभी हमें बताया कि मुश्किल से इनकी जान बच गई। आप अपना नाम बताइए।
श्री कुमार कोतवाल।
कुमार जी, क्या हुआ, क्या बताना चाहेंगे?
ये रात को 2:30 बजे तकरीबन ये इतनी बर्फ पड़ गई, ओले पड़ गए कि पूरा ऊपर से पानी नजर आने लगा। तो ये ऊपर से आया बहुत जोर से। मैं उस साइड में खड़ा था तो ऊपर से आया ये ऐसे लग गए तो हम बच गए।
इस समय हम नेशनल हाईवे पे हैं। नेशनल हाईवे के साथ चिनाब दरिया का किनारा है। ये तस्वीरें आप देखिए, ये चिनाब दरिया बिल्कुल नेशनल हाईवे के साथ है और हाईवे के साथ ही चिनाब दरिया के बीचों बीच लोगों के घर हैं। हम लोग वहां पर मौजूद हैं जहां पर 3 लोगों की मौत हो चुकी थी। क्लाउड बस्ट हुआ, बाढ़ आई। सामने तस्वीरों में देखे, बादल बाईं तरफ से भी फटा और बादल दाईं तरफ से भी फटा। बीच में राष्ट्रीय राजमार्ग है और बीच में दरिया का किनारा है। यह चिनाब का वो दरिया है जो कल से जिसका जलस्तर है वो लगातार बढ़ता चला गया। इस समय हम उस फुटपाथ पे हैं हाईवे के साथ, जो तस्वीरें कल से ही हम आपको लगातार दिखा रहे थे और ये वो तस्वीरें हैं जहाँ पर कल का जो माहौल था वो बहुत ही भयानक था। लेकिन आज भी हम यहाँ पर पहुंचे ये दिखाने के लिए देखिए कि जो 3 लोगों की मौत हुई है उनका गांव ये सामने है और हालत बहुत बद से बदतर होते चले जा रहे हैं। ये देखिए किस तरीके से यहाँ पर लोग अभी भी जमा हुए हैं और साथ में ही ये जो नाला जो बह रहा है, नदी नाले बहते हुए चिनाब के दरिया में जा रहे हैं, लेकिन दरिया का भी जलस्तर लगातार बढ़ता जा रहा है। और नीचे आप देखिए ये छोटा सा कस्बा है, यहाँ पर लोग रहते हैं और जब भी ये एक बाढ़ जैसा मंजर जो यहाँ पर देखने को मिला और तुरंत यहाँ का माहौल जो है बिगड़ता चला गया, भयानक मंजर यहाँ पर हुआ और उसके बाद यहाँ पर लोगों का हाल बेहाल हो गया और लोग जो है वो यहाँ से अपनी कोशिश की कि यहाँ से बाहर निकले, लेकिन बाहर निकल नहीं पाए क्योंकि उनका घर था, उनका आशियाना था, अपने आप को बचाया, घर को समेटने की कोशिश की, यहीं पे रहे और अब कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि उसी घर को साफ करके उसी घर में फिर से बसना है। तो ये कोशिश, मौसम का मिजाज बदला, मौसम थोड़ा साफ हुआ और साफ होते मौसम के बाद जो है थोड़ी सी स्थिरता यहाँ पर देखने को मिल रही है।
देखिए, नेशनल हाईवे हैज बीन इफेक्टेड। अगर आज ट्रेन होती तो लोग बच सकते थे, ट्रेन से जा सकते थे, मगर अफसोस मौसम इतना खराब था, वज़ीर आज़म आ नहीं सके। मुगल रोड है, उस पर भी इतना बोझ पड़ गया है कि लोगों को अब सुंदरबनी में रोक रहे हैं और फिर उनको छोड़ रहे हैं जब तक कि ये, यानी हम लोगों का जम्मू कश्मीर में इतनी बुरी हालत है, एक सड़क होने से हमारा तबाही का रास्ता है।
Moving on now, after prolonged illness, Pope Francis passed away at the age of 88. Pope Francis was suffering from poor health for more than a decade. He was undergoing treatment for respiratory infections. He was known for his progressive reforms and for advocating global peace amidst wars that we are now witnessing. As the world mourns his passing, we also spoke with Auxiliary Bishop here on CNN News 18. We also get you a sense of what Pope Francis's life looked like, what is the legacy that he leaves behind.
From the beginning, Pope Francis had the common touch.
Buonasera.
A simple good evening from the newly elected Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio from Argentina, the first pope ever from the Americas. Equally at home with the poor and the powerful, on the lawn of the White House, he made a plea for immigrants.
As the son of an immigrant family, I'm happy to be a guest in this country, which was largely built by such families.
The Pope focused much of his attention to those on the peripheries, as he called it, the outsiders excluded from society.
The hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, the naked, the sick, those in prison.
He was not so popular at times inside the Vatican. Backlash from conservatives upset about his liberal approach to church teaching, promised reforms of financial transparency never fully materializing, and the scandal of sex abuse continuing to be the Catholic Church's biggest struggle.
He met with victims. He expressed heartfelt sorrow. He expressed resolve to get this right. But, you know, most critics, many victims, would say that that wasn't matched with a policy follow-through.
When the coronavirus pandemic hit in 2020, this image of the Pope blessing the world from an empty St. Peter's Square became a symbol for that desolate time. Francis urged nations to share their vaccines with poorer countries and vaccinated hundreds of homeless and underprivileged at the Vatican. From the beginning of the war in Ukraine in 2022, Francis was an outspoken advocate for peace. Francis avoided outright condemnation of Vladimir Putin, but publicly appealed to the Russian president, begging him to stop for the love of his people, the Pope said. He made similar appeals for peace during the conflict in the Middle East, saying that the Israel-Hamas war had descended into terrorism. He insisted that war is always a defeat and said self-defense that is not proportional is immoral. Francis's most important message was one of fraternity, that we are all brothers and sisters despite our differences. I'm Karen Kefa reporting.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi is on a trip to the US and has made headlines again for raking and criticizing Indian issues overseas. After talking about the situation of minorities in India, situation of opposition and the press, overall the condition of democracy, caste, he has now attacked the election body. The questions raised by the Congress MP aren't new. The Congress party has made these allegations